Hello, I'm Lucy from Cruickshanks and I'm here today to talk about what is easily my favourite read of the year so far. It's Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And I've got to say, it took me a little bit by surprise. It was one that has had loads and loads of hype. I've seen it everywhere, and I think particularly in the US it's had loads of hype compared to the UK, although it has still been around a fair bit. Oprah's been banging on about it, she loves it, she's picked it up to make it into a TV series, but yet it still took me a bit by surprise because I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, I might love that or I might not. I was a little bit on the fence and I thought, oh, do you know what, I'll just try it. And I'm so glad I did because, it's really good. It is really good, you guys. It starts, you know, you are thrown bang in with this brilliant first page. The hook is so good. It is 1965 and we are looking out to sea in this enormously visual cinematic image. And we learn that a woman has apparently drowned on her wedding day and all that is left behind is her wedding dress smeared with black cake. Fast forward pretty much to the present day in America. So that opening image, do we know it's in the West Indies, or what was called, commonly referred to the West Indies at the time. I'm not sure whether we know that on the first day, but it's not a spoiler, it's fine. And we're fast forwarded to pretty much the present day in the US, where we meet Benny and Byron, and they are brother and sister. Their mother has just died, and she has left them a really lengthy voice recording in which she explains to them slowly, bit by bit, about this secret that she has been keeping about a murder. And I'm going to be really careful not to give you spoilers because there are potentially so many, but that's all right, we know there's a murder. And the other thing that she has left them in the freezer is a portion of black cake, or a black cake, and she said to them, I want you two to share this cake when the time is right. You will know when. Now, Benny and Byron have a complicated relationship. Benny has been estranged from the family for, I think it was 8 years, quite a long time. And to start with, we don't know why. We just know that there was an awful lot of tension, and an awful lot of sadness around that as well. Byron is a super successful marine geologist, biologist, something to do with the sea. I don't know. Anyway, he's super successful, but he's actually also incredibly insecure, and he's angry at Benny for going away, but he also loves her and he can't work out how to communicate with her. She, on the flip side, has her own insecurities, but actually she's kind of confident in herself, but not in her relationship with her family anymore. Plot-wise, I don't really want to say too much more because I am in danger of so many spoilers, but in a, broad, high-level kind of way, what happens is we zoom backwards and forwards in time, over a really huge amount of time, actually, and through lots and lots of different perspectives, we unravel all the stuff that is shared in their mother's letter, and sort of piece together this wider picture. And it's absolutely thick as custard with historical detail. That was a terrible phrase. It's really thick. It's got loads of historical detail in it, because we look at the history of the West Indies, the history of the UK and the history of America, in sort of race relation terms. But also, like in wider political context as well. But the historical detail is absolutely, completely and utterly seamlessly embedded into the novel. So although the author is clearly super knowledgeable and has done her homework, you're not being hit over the head with it at all. It is 100% through the characters, subtly bedded in. So you're like, oh, wow, didn't know that. And you're taking it in, but it is not in any way obtrusive to the story. It is absolutely there to aid the story, not to teach you, anything explicitly. The style of the book. So It's in really, really short chapters. So maybe just 1 or 2 pages a pop a lot of the time, which I loved. And you're flitting between these viewpoints, and it keeps it really, really urgent, and it creates this momentum, and makes it intensely readable, because you're always like, oh, just one more chapter, because they're so short and punchy, and sort of everything is kind of like a mini cliffhanger the whole time. Not, you know, like in a crime novel or a thriller where it's like gasp-worthy cliffhangers, but all these little nuggets that just leaves you wanting that next bit of the puzzle that is piecing together, which is so enormously complex. Like, the plotting in this bad boy is just insane. I cannot believe it's a debut. It's a debut. It's astonishing that this is a debut. You would never know it. In terms of the style in which it's written, like the language, it's not flowery, but it is very accomplished. There's like plenty of metaphors and similes in there, but they're really to the point and they're really precise. And at the same time, they're very original. So you're like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that means. I know that feeling. I recognise that. I can relate to it, but it's not like, yeah, it's not purple prose, it's not flowery, it's not fussy, it's very clean, and I liked that a lot. I'm gonna take a breath. Themes. In terms of the themes, so it's about identity, it's about heritage, and it's about culture. It's about, you know, taking a long, hard look at all the pieces that make you who you are, and how actually it's all relative. You know, what culture is to one person and what heritage is to one person, you know, is completely different to another person. So it's a book that encourages you to sort of like see things from other people's perspectives and walk in their shoes a bit. But the flip side of that is, at the same time, it's saying, you know, be confident in who you are, you know, and own it, really. And that heritage is so much more than, you know, where you were born, where you grew up, your family. It's all these tiny, tiny bits and all the things that are unseen and unsaid to each other throughout our lives and our relationships with other people that come together to make you who you are. And at times it's really sad, you know, really, really emotional. And quite serious at times as well. You know, I think this is a serious novel. You know, it's not one that's going to, you know, make you laugh, especially. It's not uplifting, but at the same time, it's very affirming, I found. It's sort of like, you know, you're going to be okay. Whatever your circumstances are, you know, you can find a way to fit in and build relationships and, you know, find your place in the world, because actually who you are and all those things that make you who you are absolutely fine. And I liked that. I just like the messaging in it a lot, and also the way that the messaging was done, because it's so subtle and it's just all these strands, like from every direction, endlessly thrown at you, in a totally readable way, that just tie it up. And these strands are like their plot, their language, their, you know, internal dialogue. They're all these different, really complex things that come together to just build this rich tapestry of feelings and emotions and ideas that just is just pitch perfect. I just loved it. It was really good. If I had to be really, really picky, well, there was just one bit where I was like, oh, is that believable? Is that believable? Page 340. I can't tell you any more because it will totally spoil it. In the UK edition, page 340, that was the only bit where I was like, I need a tiny bit more information here in order to be able to believe what happened. And I can see how some people might level the criticism. Actually, I haven't looked if anyone has levelled this criticism at it, but I can imagine that people could argue it's very neat, like all the different strands do tie up neatly, and the emotional journeys that people go on, they are neat. You know, you can use the word neat to describe them. And I can see how some people might be too neat, but actually for me, I was like, but it is all possible. You know, nothing drifts into the realms of impossibility for me. It is all entirely plausible. And so I chose to believe that the neatness paid off. You know, I did choose that, and it didn't bother me at all. You know, I was really having to think about, when I talked about this book, when I talked to you, you know, what might be the criticisms, and that isn't something that bothered me, but I can see, you know, that if someone argued it, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough, fair play. In terms of what I would liken it to, I would consider, well, to start with, I thought it was a little bit like this one. So A Place for Us by Fatemeh Farin Mirza, which came out, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. And again, it's about, you know, essentially an immigrant family in America who are fractured and, you know, trying to relate to each other. And there's the, you know, the outsider, the outcast trying to get back into the clan. And it's a family drama that looks at identity, which I really enjoyed, liked this one a lot, but this is a lot more in depth. There's more nuance, and it pushes the idea much, much further. And I loved like the historical and the political context that was like stuffed in there as well. So for me, this was the superior read. I liked it a lot. I don't know what else to say about it. It's the same colours as my kitchen, which is probably what tipped me into buying it when I was on the fence to start with. But you know, it's great, so good. Easily my favourite read of the year so far. And I had a good reading month. All the books I read, I was like, that's a good one, that's a good one, that's a good one. Pale into comparison. Oh, so good. Anyway, Charmaine, can you write some more stuff, please? I liked it a lot. Definitely will watch the television series. So yeah, I'd love to know if you've read it too, if you're planning to read it, or if you're just going to skip straight to the TV series, which, you know, I hope is good. I hope it does it justice. And that's it. I don't have anything more to say. Would love to know what you're reading. Hope you've had a very good week, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.